This one and the next couple of questions focus on simple interest, compound interest combination questions. Let's start with this. Compound interest on a sum of money is $1,540 at the end of 2 years. Simple interest on the same sum at the same rate of interest for 2 years is $1,400. What is the principle? Right. This 1540 is the compound interest for 2 years. This 1400 is the simple interest for 2 years. Both these sums of money have been the same. You have invested the same principal at the same rate of interest for the same period, 2 years. Only difference is this was invested in compound interest while this was invested in simple interest. So this is the difference. What we are asked to find out is the principle. We're going to be cracking this question logically rather than using a formula to get to it. Let's start with the first bit. The basic idea in simple interest is the simple interest is always paid on the original principal. So the simple interest is going to stay the same year after year. So it's not going to change at all. So that's our first premise on which we're going to start this question. So simple interest for year 1 or simple interest for year 2 or simple interest for year 20 will be the same value. The simple interest for 2 years is equal to $1,400 divided by 2. Simple interest for each of these years for the first year and the second year is going to be the same amount, which is going to be equal to $700. So the first inference or the first premise on which we'll start the question. Simple interest earned will be the same for all the years. Let's move on further. Let's look at compound interest. The compound interest earned was equal to $1,540. So we got additional money in compound interest. But hold on for a minute. When do you think this additional money would have come into the picture? Would it have come into the picture in the very first year? Or we would have got this additional sum of money only in the second year? Compounding happens only at the end of the first compounding period. Unless the question states otherwise, the default compounding period is 1 year. So during the first year, simple interest or compound interest, the interest earned is going to be the same. Any difference that you would have got would have come through only in the second year. So the compound interest for the first year is going to be the same as the simple interest for the first year. That is not going to change. Whatever additional value that we have got, 1540 is the total interest. If first year compound interest is 700, the balance 840 would have accrued in the second year. So anything extra that we have got it only in the second year. So that's a second inference. Interest earned in simple interest and compound interest term is the same for the first year. So how much have we got extra? We got $140 extra in the second year. And why did we get this $140 extra? Because this $140 would have been the interest that we would have earned in the second year on the first year's interest. In compound interest, what do? We take the principal, add the interest of the first year, this is initial principal, and call it the amount for year 1, which becomes a principal for year 2. So this interest would have got added to the principal. So the delta, the additional $140 is actually the interest earned on the first year's interest. How much is the first year's interest? $700. So if you have earned it at the rate of R%, R percentage of 700 is equal to 140. Solve for R. Let's get the value of the rate of interest initially. So 140 is equal to R divided by 100 into 700. The zeros get cancelled. R is equal to 140 by 7 or the rate of interest is equal to 20%. So step 1, we have found out the rate of interest. Step 2, let's compute the principal. The simple interest for a year is going to be equal to the rate of interest into the principal, right? You can use the formula and do it, no harm, but it's a much faster way of doing it. So what is the simple interest? 20% is the rate of interest of your principal. How much is the simple interest for a year? $700. $700 is equal to 20% is 20 by 100. We'll write it as a 1 by 5 times the principal. So what's the principal? Cross multiply it. $3,500 is the principal. So let's quickly recap it in a printed form. This extra interest of 140 that we got in the second year is the interest earned in the second year on the first year's interest of $700. The rate of interest is R%. Then this R percentage of 700 is equal to 140. So essentially, what is R? R is equal to 20%. Once you have found out the rate of interest is equal to 20%, you can do it either the way I showcased it to you in this slide, right? Or you can go about it with a regular formula. Simple interest is equal to 1400 for 2 years, which is equal to P into number of years is 2 into rate of interest is 20 divided by 100. Solve for this, we'll get the same value, which is the principal is equal to 3500. Let's quickly have a couple of takeaways based on this question. The takeaways are these. Simple interest is earned only on the principal. Whereas interest is also earned on the interest of the earlier periods when it comes to compound interest. In simple interest, interest earned each year is the same. In compound interest, interest earned increases each successive year because we are going to be adding the preceding year's interest to the principal. The two takeaways in addition to these are basically, in year one, interest earned in simple interest or compound interest is going to be the same. There is going to be no difference to it. And second one, interest in second year, the incremental interest that you get in compound interest is the interest on the first year's interest.
Check out the related videos and remember to subscribe to the channel. What's more, let's make scoring Q51 GMAT a reality. Sign up for the most comprehensive and affordable online GMAT quant course at gmat.wizako.com. That's again gmat.wizako.com.